Hey, what's up YouTube? In this video, I'll be showing you how to make your very own modern mansion. Here are all of the materials that you will need to make your house. Please do make sure that you have access to all those and enough of those materials as well. And now that we have all of our stuff, we can get started. So, step 1, ladies and gentlemen, is we have to make the entrance for our house. This is going to be done by placing 7 grey concrete on top of each other. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We then want to extend left by 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We then want to join that down all the way to the ground, just like this. Perfect. We then want to place an oak plank to the left of the grey concrete on the ground. We then want to extend the plank forwards by 3. 1, 2, 3. Place a grey concrete, and then 5 blue stained glass pane. You can use block, but I'd recommend pane. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We then want to extend to the left by 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Then take a sideways view like this and start extending back on yourself. And you want to extend to the left by 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then place a grey concrete. Then place yourself 5 oak wood planks. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Extend the 5th one towards you by 2. 1, 2. Extend up by 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Extend to the left by 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We're going to extend all the way down. Might take a second or two. There we go. Then I want you to extend in one. And then left of that inward block, place a grey concrete. 3 more oak planks. 1, 2, 3. Place a grey concrete. 4 glass going left. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then we're going to go left of this glass by 3. So that's going to be 1, 2, 3. Place a grey concrete on the end and then 3 oak planks. 1, 2, 3. Grey concrete on the end. Place an oak plank. Extend it towards you. And then up by 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We then want to extend left by 12. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. We're then going to join all the way down to the ground, just like this. Then I want you to extend 1 block inwards on the ground. Place a grey concrete going left. 3 oak planks, 1, 2, 3. Place a grey concrete and then 5 glass pane. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Extend towards the front of the build by 8. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We're then going to extend inwards again by 4. So that's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4. Place a grey concrete on the end. Place yourself 5 oak wood planks going left. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then what we're going to do is we're going to extend that oak plank forwards, and the goal is to connect it behind where we first started. So that shouldn't be too difficult. At a right angle like this, you just have to extend forwards and connect it back to where we first started. And that will give you this pretty grand structure that we have right here, right? It's not looking too bad. Well, there's a few things that we can do to hopefully help you out in kind of visualizing how this is going to be built. So one thing that we can do is we can take the corner of the angle that we just made and we can extend it upwards. We have to connect it in 2 places. To the back of the build where we extended it upwards previously. And we can also extend it to the left of the build where we also extended previously. We can even make a right angle at the back of the build. You can see here, we can join the 2 corners of oak planks together, just like this. Hopefully this will give you a little bit of visualization as to the centerpiece of the build, so you can see how that's put together a little bit now. We're now going to work on some of the actual features of some of the walls, and we can slowly build up details. So, number one, the entrance is inside of the grey concrete area that we made earlier. It's actually here on the left, and it's a double entrance, so I've replaced the floor and I'm going to place a double oak door there that the horse is currently inspecting. I'm sorry, but you're going to have to just... thank you. So next to the door we're going to place 2 rows of grey concrete and an entire layer on top of it. Entirely above the door we want to have 2 rows of blue glass panes, so 2 strips of not light blue, although you could use light blue, of blue glass pane. The rest of the area we are going to fill in with grey concrete, like this. So the area to the left here is kind of like a separate part of the house, and what we can do is we can take the grey concrete areas, which we only have the 2, and we can extend them each upwards by 3, 1, 2, 3, and 1, 2, 3 like this. And the grey concretes actually want to extend backwards and connect back to the main part of the house. Remember when I said that they're kind of like a separate area? They want to connect back to where the actual main part of the house will be. But not only that, they also want to travel the same path as the glass below. So if you just make sure that it lines up with the glass, everything should be hunky-dory. Just like this. And then we can fill the oak plank areas in, just behind them. These are the areas closer towards the actual main part of the house. You'll just have to add a few rows in here and there just to make it look like this. You can then fill the glass area in as well, so you just add 2 rows of glass on top of the pre-existing glass. It's harder than it sounds, and quite a bit more difficult for me, and this will actually make an individual room that kind of spans off from the main part of the house. And it's a cool area. We have kind of an equivalent version on the opposite side of the house as well. I'd always recommend filling in underneath glass pane blocks, always. I'm actually going to be using grey concrete because it will contrast very well against the floor that will inevitably be, for me, quartz block, and the surrounding area, which is kind of like just vegetation really. Around the top of this, I'm going to recommend that you use smooth quartz slabs. So the way that I'm going to use smooth quartz slabs is underneath and above the grey concrete rows like this. I'm going to have 2 rows of smooth quartz slabs that simply goes all the way around the top and outside of these areas. Not only does this add an interesting modern vibe, but it also adds a heavily contrasting material, which is something that we need. Grey and oak are really good, but white really does pull everything together, so we want to have something which should look like this. If you want to make the roof of these areas look a bit cooler, you can connect the grey concrete vertical rows together in the roof panel, and also just at the ends here, although I'm pretty sure that if we were to add some oak planks in here and kind of like fill in this wall from the main part of the house, then it won't really matter what sort of material we actually join it together in here. But here's the thing, so I'd recommend filling the top part of the back of the wing in using grey concrete, but then I'd recommend filling the outward part here in using glass. Specifically glass block. It'd look a little bit weird if we used paint. So if you just want to make the roof design look a little bit more interesting, then there you go, you can do it quite easily. So that's the left part of the house for the most part. I think that that looks really cool. And now we're going to swing around to this side of the house, and we're just kind of going to go around clockwise, I suppose, and we can kind of just fill things in as we hit them. So this oak plank area, I'm actually going to fill in completely with oak planks. The house has a lot of windows, many windows, a huge amount of them, so we don't really have to add any more, but feel free if you want to add more detail. Sometimes I do like a nice big blank wall though. On the back of the house we have a lot of rows of grey concrete. These rows of grey concrete actually want to extend up and rival the height of the oak planks that we have surrounding us. By rival, I mean they literally want to be the same height, so just so that there's no confusion there. We want to connect the grey concrete in 2 ways. Number 1, we want to join it outwardly in a right angle like this. so to form kind of like a square, the same shape that we have down below, but equally we want to join it together in the top as well, so to almost make as if you guys can see it, it's almost like a square. It's not like a square, it's literally a square, I think. I don't think it's a rectangle. And now that we've done that, we now have to add a bit of detail to this area as well. So the thing about that is we want to take the oak plank area here or over there, it doesn't matter. We can add 2 rows of oak planks on top of it. 1, 2. We then want to add a row of grey concrete on top, and then that row of grey concrete also wants to get extended through this part of the build at a right angle. So to just kind of chop things up a little bit, you know? The oak plank rows want to persist and go upwards and extend towards the top of the roof. The remaining area is going to be filled in with glass, which is not so fun to place, but has to be done. So we'll start with the bottom and we will move our way up. And of course, we will also be replacing underneath all of the windows. Going to be using grey concrete for that, because as I said, my interior floor is definitely going to be smooth quartz. So a nice defining grey concrete border is exactly what we need, I think. So let's add in all this glass here. Perfect. So what do we have to do? We have to add some rows of smooth quartz slabs. We have to add them, number one, we're going to add them above and below the horizontal grey concrete row. And then we're going to have, we're going to leave like an entire block's worth alone. So like above here, right, we have like a half block, and then we want to like leave an entire block's worth alone by connecting like 2 half blocks, and then we want to leave an entire block and then place a quartz slab. Does that make sense? I've explained that in a weird way because it is a little bit tricky because we're dealing with like 2 half rows, but the gist is that we start down here and then we leave a whole block's gap, whole block's gap, whole block's gap, and we have 4 rows of quartz slabs, and they're just going to extend around and they're going to connect over here. I explained that in a weird way, but I'm hoping that you guys get it anyway. It's just that, you know, when it's just a little bit weird because we're like skirting between a couple of different rows there instead of like just regular whole rows. We're dealing with half rows, but the result of this anyway is going to look a lot like this. And it just looks quite cool. It's like a nice part of the house. We're going to replace underneath the windows as well, like I said, so these can be replaced using grey concrete. Later on, we won't be doing much to this area. This is where I would have a staircase, so I'm not really going to be doing loads of crazy stuff. But that will be that for the moment. I'm very happy with how that's turned out. This area back here, the oak planks, specifically leaving really the oak plank areas alone. I'm not really carving any detail into them. I'm going to completely fill it in with oak. And again, the reason being is because this house is so full with windows, it's nice sometimes to see the contrast of just a nice large empty area versus something that looks a little bit more complex. I mean, maybe you guys all see what I'm talking about, right? Isn't it kind of nice just to not have just like a complete, like, just busyness in your face? I don't know, maybe it's just me. Feel free to add windows and stuff if you like. Anywho, over here. This is the second wing of the house. We've already made one of them. This one has the same design pretty much. So we're going to raise up the grey concrete areas by 3 rows. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, and we're going to add an additional one on this side over here. Let me just make sure that that's correct. Yeah, I can do that. So over here, I'm going to knock out this block where it would be, and 1, 2, 3, just like this. Well, that'll be 4 because I didn't account for not already having one. So the grey concrete blocks will join together. They'll join back to the main part of the house, and we will also extend them across the top of where the glass is supposed to be as well. What I think I'm going to do, just to make this a bit easier, is I'm going to fill this wall in using oak planks. So the wall that the wing connects to, I'm just going to completely fill it in with oak planks. I think it will make it easier later on because we've got to add a decent amount of detail to it, and it's always easier to add detail to like a big blank canvas rather than try and build in, especially with what I have in store for that. So what do we do with this area? The same as we did over there. So that means adding the oak planks, and it means adding the glass, and then inevitably means adding the quartz and then the grey concrete underneath the glass. I kind of went through that with a little bit of speed, but hopefully you guys all know what I'm talking about, so we should be able to just accomplish everything that we did over there directly onto here. So we have the glass, we have the oak planks, we have the quartz slab that is below and above the top line of grey concrete, so we get to see the entire whole row. It means it covers up a little bit of the windows, but you know what, it doesn't really matter. So like this. It doesn't really matter because your character's only 2 blocks high anyway, so when you stood from the inside, I don't think it's really obstructing your view, and it just seems like it's just like a nice amount of window that's still left anyway. Like it doesn't really take away from it too much. So now that we've done that, we are also going to, of course, add the roof. Completely forgot about this. So the roof as well, I'm going to make the back part of the roof. I'm dividing it. I'm dividing it where the oak planks and the glass is naturally divided. So it makes sense. And when you look around the house, if you add detail into like natural breaking points and natural lines of the house, you'll find that it looks a little bit better than kind of like just randomly splicing in parts of detail, or at least, I mean, that's how I've always found things look a little bit better. If things line up with other parts of the house, it looks far more planned out, and it just seems to look a little bit nicer, rather than just being like, I want a window that's 3 by 3 right in the middle there, you know. But anyway, that is what we are dealing with right now, and honestly, the house doesn't look that impressive at the moment, but we are definitely going to be trying our best to make it look a little bit more so. So we're going to fill in the oak plank area that we have here. The oak plank area just wants to be completely filled in. We do have more plans for it, but, you know, we'll be dealing with that later as usual. We are going to add several rows of... First of all, actually, we'll add the grey concrete that we need to add. So, there's 2 grey concrete rows that we need to add here on the right side of the build in this corner. Number 1, we literally want to add a row of grey concrete in this corner. It's going to be 7 rows high. You'll have to destroy the quartz slab. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 rows high, 1 row away from the top. You then want to leave a gap of 2 between this row, so a gap of 2, and then you want a row equal to the row that we have just to the right of us, like this. What we are then going to do is we are going to add several rows of quartz slabs. Now these are going to be persistent throughout the entire side of the build, meaning they're going to go all the way through like this. So the first row of quartz slab is half a row off the ground. The next row of quartz slab, you want to leave an entire gap between it. The next row of quartz slab, we actually want to leave, it works out to be 2 entire rows. So like we have a half row here, whole row, and then we have a half row, and that's where we want to place our quartz slab like this, right? And we then want to leave an entire row and then place another quartz slab. Hopefully that makes sense. So we start from the bottom, we leave half rows gap, full rows gap, another quartz slab, 2 entire rows that's made up of a half row, whole block, half row, and then leave an entire row, and then we have our quartz slab. What we can then do is we can extend it around and through all of the through the grey concrete and around the entire building, just like this. It'll look pretty good. So it'll look even better as well when we start adding the additional details that I want to, but part of this house is missing. So we're actually going to be tackling that query, that problem, very, very soon. So there you go. So the house actually looks pretty good like this, right? And I think we will add a little bit of detail to it, right? We'll just make it look a little bit nicer, a little bit more presentable. So, for instance, on the front of the house, in between the rows of quartz slab at the bottom, we're going to take the 3 middle blocks and we'll destroy them. We will do the same thing just up above, so we'll take the 3 middle blocks and we'll destroy them. We'll then move up another row and we'll take the 3 middle blocks and we'll destroy them. So as you can see, in between all of these rows, that's what we want to have. The bottom and the top rows want to be blue glass pane. The middle row wants to have an inset row of oak planks, like this. So that looks pretty cool. And if we move around to the right, we want to do a similar thing over here. So when I say similar thing, it's pretty much the exact same. So you still have a middle free row for each individual part of the house that we've just knocked out. And you want to take those middle free rows, and the middle of the middle free rows wants to be oak planks, and then the top and the bottom wants to be blue glass like this, and it just creates a really cool effect. You can even persist this through a little bit, so like you can, even if you want, you can knock out these two middle blocks and you can make them glass. You can knock out these two middle blocks, we'll make those planks, and we can knock out these top two middle blocks and we can make those glass pane, and we can have something that looks really, really cool. So instead of having something that's a little bit bland, we have now something that's almost hyper detailed, really, really cool. So what are we going to be doing next? You may be wondering, what could we possibly do next? Well, we are going to place 2 rows of grey concrete. The first row is going to extend from the right side of the main entrance. There's actually only one entrance really to the house, the actual house. Right of the entrance, I want you to dig a row of 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 in the ground, and I want you to place grey concrete. Then we're actually going to have stairs, which I don't seem to have, because apparently I'm stupid. But we need some quartz stairs, some smooth ones specifically. There we go. I'm sure they'll be in the item list. So on the end of the row of 7, destroy 2 blocks, place smooth quartz, and then on the end there, destroy, place grey concrete. If we come over to the opposite side of the house, and from the grey concrete row that we have here, we want to extend outwards, and we want to extend 1 row further than the actual wing of the house, so where the roof is, we want to place grey concrete like this, and then we actually have our guidelines. So you see, we can then create a right angle using these 2 rows of grey concrete, and with this right angle, we can create this. So we have created a nice little area for which we can, in a bit, we're not going to do it quite just yet, we can dig that out and then we can make, I guess, the subterranean part of the house. Don't know if I'm even using that word correctly, but I'm going to stick to it anyway. The subterranean part of the house. I guess it's not, because subterranean would mean underneath the terrain, and technically it's just a hole, so I guess the sub-ground level. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Subterranean sounds cooler, even though it's wrong. So what we're going to be doing next, we want to plant some poppies or some flowers around the left side of the house, just to add a little bit of green to the build. The poppies are literally just going to go all the way around like this. I'm going to add hedge in the same fashion. The hedge is going to go around the poppies. I'm using jungle leaves, feel free to use anything else. The jungle leaves will stop in the same row as the poppies. I'm also going to add another row of leaves. This is going to be on the end of the grey concrete that has the quartz stairs attached. So the leaves are going to go all the way around the edge of the grey concrete laid out area. It's going to extend all the way back, all the way back, all the way back like this. And I haven't quite decided. It's probably going to extend, it's just going to join round to the back of the build kind of like this, right? And then we can still have our poppies inside this area, and then oh no, we don't have any grass for the poppies. We can sort that out. There we go. So have that, no, there, change that back, there we go. So that's something that we want to have. Something else, by the way, that might actually help. Now that we have this row of grey concrete here, it actually doesn't make sense to have grey concrete underneath the windows. So I'm actually going to replace it with smooth quartz slabs, or smooth quartz block rather. You could use slabs, but I wouldn't. And this will actually contrast it against the grey concrete. You don't necessarily have to do it all the way around. It just has a contrast against that front row, but you can see how that already looks better, right? For having that. So that's really good. What else do we have to do? We have to fill in the roof. We're actually going to be doing that a little bit later on though, because you see. Oh, also we can add a pathway. The pathway is going to lead from the basically just the front entrance of the house, just like this. It's going to be a double path. It's going to be smooth block of quartz, or yeah, right, smooth block of, yeah, smooth quartz block. The block of quartz isn't in there. It's going to be smooth block of quartz. Smooth quartz block. I've got to stop adding the extra words. Smooth quartz block, and it's just going to just lead us to the edge of the edge of the actual area that our house is in. So that leaves us this big chunk of land right here. What are we going to be doing with it? Well, we actually want to dig 5 rows down. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We want to dig 5 rows down inside of this entire area here, right? So all of this grass wants to be dug out in one big go. That's going to take a long time, and I'm not going to include it in the tutorial. But meanwhile, I'm also going to fill the entire roof in with oak wood planks, except for the grey concrete part. I'm going to fill that in with blue glass block. So I'm going to do those 2 things, ladies and gentlemen, and then I'm going to be back, and then I'm going to show it off as if it didn't take very much time whatsoever, despite the fact that it will have. Okay, well that took a while. So, as you can see, I have dug 5 rows down. But what I might not have mentioned is you want to dig underneath the exposed parts of the house as well. So underneath the oak planks and the grey concrete that we have surrounding us, underneath these walls that make like the big large right angle here, you want to dig underneath 5 rows down underneath all of that. Plus, I did also fill in the roof. I filled that area in with glass, and then the rest of the roof I just have oak wood planks. So, ladies and gentlemen, I imagine that you will want to do that for yourself. Pause the video if you have to. Do make sure that that is done for yourself as well. And once you have taken care of all of that, you can progress on to this next part. Perfect. So, first of all, let's just fill in underneath this grey concrete row next to the stairs. So, underneath the grey concrete, we're just going to be adding more rows of grey concrete. So, this is the front wall of the house. This is the grey concrete row, just like this. We want to then extend the stairs down. So the stairs actually have to line up a little bit in a specific place. You see, the grey concrete to the next to the entrance here, this also wants to be extended down. That's why we destroyed underneath it. So almost as if the grey concrete of the entrance kind of like extends down and it persists through one level to the other, you just want to extend it down to the ground. Now, the thing about that is we also have to extend this row of grey concrete here. 1, 2, 3, 4, just like this. And underneath here is going to be a little farm. But I think that we can place smooth quartz block next to this row that just hit the ground, and we can place 2 rows. And we can extend this across just like this, and we can hit the front wall. We want to have an entrance here, so this is going to be a double entrance made out of just 2 oak wood doors like this, right? And then we're going to extend the stairs down, as I mentioned. So we'll extend the stairs down in the exact same manner as one might expect that you would extend stairs. You don't have to have it so that the stairs actually literally extend down to the ground. As you see, we then want to add 2 rows of smooth quartz block that are going to extend towards this back wall here, so towards the side wall of our build. The side wall wants to be completely filled in with grey concrete. We don't really have much detail built into the walls on the front and the side, specifically the right side of the build, but we do have little farms added into the 2 inside compartments of the build. So you can see how this is shaping up. Inside this wall here is actually going to be like dirt, and as I mentioned, it's going to be a farm. So I also want you to connect the grey concrete area next to the stairs down to the ground like this. I want you to fill underneath the stairs in using smooth quartz block. And you can actually dig a few rows, as many as you like, maybe 2 or 3, probably like dig an extra row underneath here, and then an extra row, so like 2 rows in total. And then you can add block of quartz or smooth quartz block, finally getting it right. Into the back of it, and then you can add some grey concrete on the sides just to like mark it out a little bit. You can add some dirt to the bottom so that we can have farms here. You can even knock out the middle so that we can have like lanterns and stuff like that, and then we can even like destroy the inside part again, and we can have some grey concrete, so we can have some really nice contrasting areas like this. So not only do we want one over there, but we want one over there as well. But first of all, we'll add this path. So the path actually gets a little bit larger on this side of the build. It's going to be 4 rows, I do believe. Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4. It's going to be 4 rows of block of quartz. So just like this is going to be extended towards the edge of the build like this. So it's going to, so we've only got like, as a matter of fact, we might even extend the path here as well. So we do actually need a bit of a larger path. So we might add, yeah, we'll add an extra 2 rows. So we'll have 4 rows leniency going all the way around the edge here, just like this, right? Perfect. But then I want you to, we have to make like this little farm area as well. So we'll add a row of grey concrete here on the right side. We'll add a row of grey concrete here on the left side. So we'll extend that down. We want to have a row of dirt in between the 2 rows of grey concrete like this. And then we'll dig, I think it was 2 rows, right? We'll dig 2 rows into the side of this little like hill that we've created. And the second row will just completely fill in using block of quartz. Like this, or smooth quartz block. I always want to call it smooth block of quartz. I don't know why. I guess I'm just forgetful. So can fill the ceiling in. We can fill the sides of it in using grey concrete like this. And then that will allow us to, and make sure that it's dirt or grass or whatever as well, so that we can hoe the land later. And then we can knock the middle of this out. We'll knock out the few middle rows like this. And then again, and we'll place some grey concrete in there. Perfect. What we also want to do is we want to, oh boy, that doesn't look fun in there. Huh. So we're going to connect the grey concrete down to the ground like this, right? Where we have the road just up above us. And that will leave us, can you go away? And that, what we can then do is we can extend these 2 rows of smooth block of quartz, or smooth quartz block, in between. And then we can have our double door again, so the double door can go here. And we do have to add more detail to the central part, but I want you to then join the 2 rows of grey concrete at a right angle that we have earlier, that we placed earlier, so that row there and then that row there. And then we're going to outline the quartz block area, or the smooth quartz block, using grey concrete like this. And then later on, we can turn that into a pool. But first of all, why don't we tackle what we have in front of us? So the oak area, let's fill it in with oak. So we'll join the oak planks that we have just up above, we'll join it down to the ground. And then we can add details into it as well, the same way that we did just up above. We'll have it persist a little bit. We'll actually have just a couple of rows of glass and stuff, and it'll just look nice. Above the actual entrance here on the right, we're just going to fill just 2 rows in with grey concrete just up above the entrance. You can see that looks way better right now that we've done that. Well, where we have these 2 windows here, we're going to like make sure that an entire row, is it an entire row? I want to make sure that that's right. Oh, okay, so underneath, you know where we have this glass here, right? So leaving half a row's gap just down below, we're going to knock out the same 3 middle blocks that we have on the front of the build. We'll leave an entire row, and then we'll knock out the same 3 middle blocks again. We want to do the same on the side, so the same positions, the same 3 middle blocks, and the same positions that we did on the front. The top row is going to be oak planks. So the top row that we just destroyed, that's going to be oak planks, but the lower row is going to be glass pane, just like this. Perfect. And ladies and gentlemen, believe it or not, I mean, that is most of this complete. We really don't have to add too much more. The pool, okay, but let's do it anyway. So I'd recommend grabbing some lanterns, hose seeds. I'm going to get white glazed terracotta I really like, so I'm going to be using that, and some water. The pool, I'm just going to dig out an extra layer, and I'm just going to place white glazed terracotta. It's one of my favourite glazed terracottas. I also like what I like to call the Finding Nemo glazed terracotta, which it's either the orange one or it's the cyan. It kind of has what seems to me to be the little clownfish kind of like built into it. You'll know what I'm talking about if you've ever seen it, hopefully. Otherwise I'll sound like a crazy person, won't I? But this can just be filled in. It creates a nice colour contrast with everything else, like it's quite nice and bright. And it's also not too far off. It creates a contrast in the brightness, but the colours aren't too far off what we've already used, like blue, white and yellow. I mean, oak planks isn't, you know, it's not too far off the colour tones of the build. These little farm areas here, we can hoe these and we can plant some seeds. These will grow eventually, there's no reason to force them. We can place some lanterns inside these areas. You could even place some chests, something like that. It's up to you, just a little bit of decoration really. We can hoe out this area and we can place seeds once more. Perfect. So what's left down here? It's worth mentioning, by the way, that underneath here where we have these doors, you're meant to connect these together. And I mean, this is kind of tricky. Let me just destroy some of the way here. That should be enough. And then let me come to these other doors. Like, this is supposed to be like a little separate room that we have down here. So, in the original version of this, when I was designing the interior, I liked the idea of having like an under-house aquarium, but I quickly realized that I didn't want to design the entire interior. I just wanted to design the like underground aquarium. So I kind of only did that and nothing else, but this is meant to like be a separate room, and if you want to connect that to the upper house, then you can. If you don't feel like connecting it to the upper house, then you don't have to whatsoever. But yeah, I accidentally destroyed one of the glass, so yeah, perfect, there we go. So that's looking really good. And the only thing that I'd recommend doing is maybe adding some deck chairs or something like that around the little pool area that we have here. I'd recommend, of course, adding a floor into the interior and adding like another floor, like a second floor, and really making it your own. So I'm actually going to lay out some rooms. I'm going to show you how much room you have, maybe add in some stairs, and then I'll let you guys decide how you want to decorate this build. But let me add a couple more little creature comforts to the pool area of the house, and I'll make it all nice and clean for you, and then we can have a final look at this thing. So this, ladies and gentlemen, is what your house will look like once it has been 100% fully completed. We have done all of the step-by-step parts of this tutorial. All that is left for you is to decorate the house, which I'm going to leave in your very capable hands. So as you can see, just downstairs by the pool, I've added just a couple of sunbeds and some parasols just to add some colour and some life. If we walk inside this area, you can see that I've now added a ceiling and I've added some walls, so this can be a nice little secret room, but it could even be a pool house or something similar. It could be a little secret aquarium, something cool for your house. If we head up to the actual first floor, that's technically kind of like a ground floor down there. This is the extent to your main part of the house. You can see that you have access to the two wings. You can add an additional floor inside here if you want to. You can separate it into rooms and just have a single floor mansion. It's completely up to you, but I wanted to give you an idea of what sort of space we have laid out. And it seems we have a special guest, so I think I'm going to leave now. Leave Mr. Creeperson to his own business. I do hope that you guys have enjoyed this tutorial. If you have, please do remember to hit that like button, as it really helps me and the channel out very, very much. If you're new around here, please do consider subscribing and clicking that little bell next to the subscription button. That'll ensure that you get all my videos sent directly to your sub box. And if you do want to make anything else by me, check out the card system, description below in the top of the comment section for more. Thank you so much for watching. I love you all very much, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Goodbye.